Good morning, everyone, and welcome to episode 222 of the Ask the Coach show, where PingSkills helps you improve your table tennis. It's Throwback Thursday, and we'll be looking at our pre-point routine masterclass. In the questions, we'll discuss teaching someone who uses the opposite hand to you, how to stop a killer backhand, and whether a flick can replace the loop. I'm Jeff Plump, and as always, Super Coach Alois Rosario is here with me to answer your questions. Welcome, Alois.
Thank you, Jeffrey, and another good morning to all of you.
Yes, absolutely. And show 222. Now, for those Australians, they would remember that Richie Benaud famously used to say two in a funny way. You have any good impersonations of Richie Benaud, Alois?
No, two. No, I don't.
2 for 222. No, we're both pretty bad at it. Oh, dear.
That's better than me. Yeah.
Excellent. Anyway, Alois, what happened on the 11th of February in history?
Indeed. A famous day, because I'm just here. He was born in
Who was born? You're just cutting out a little bit here. Internet issues.
Oh, no. Thomas Edison. Ever heard of him?
I have.
Yeah. So, he was born in 1847. And apparently, I think he had the most patents or something like that. A prolific inventor, but probably most famous for, let me think. Yes, the electric light bulb.
Indeed. Very good. There you go. So maybe today people are going to come up with something really innovative.
Absolutely. And yes, let's see if Thomas Edison can inspire us.
Absolutely. Now, yesterday we asked people, what are your ideal playing conditions? What did people say?
Yeah, there was a few people. Not a huge response, but yes, a few people, but some good ones. So Jonathan said, a good table and net, plenty of room, nice weather, or inside with an AC. Eugene, somewhere where it's cooling but not windy. Yeah, definitely no wind, can't have wind. The wind effect will affect the toss and might lead the ball to be blown away. Good tables, nets and floors. Trevor Hirth said low humidity, Taraflex, and high lux. So I think the low humidity would have come after his stint in Fiji and appreciating where there is low humidity. And Billu said the very first thing is the floor. Yeah, wow, there you go. Then the tables and the nets, big hall, no humidity, to put the cherry on the top where I find a good opponent to play with. And Glenn O'Day said, anywhere there's a table.
There you go. Very, very good. That's interesting, Alice. A few references to humidity. It can be really tough playing in humid conditions. Firstly, you just get really hot, but then also the ball kind of can get a bit wet and sometimes doesn't grip to the bat, and that can be really frustrating.
Yeah, I think the main thing is just that gripping factor. So when the rubber gets a little bit moist, then if the ball hits it, it tends to drop off, and you end up with big blobs of water on your bat. So really frustrating playing. I don't know how some of the players in the Pacific countries do it. They just seem to soldier on through it. I guess they're just used to it. But I know some of us when we go over there to play really struggle with that sort of those sort of conditions.
Absolutely. All right. So today's question is, what gets you frustrated on the table? So head over to our Facebook page or to the blog at pingskills.com and answer the PingSkills question of the day. What gets you frustrated on the table? I think we're going to have some interesting responses to that one, Alois.
Oh, yeah. I hope so.
Indeed. All right. Well, as I mentioned at the start of the show, it is Throwback Thursday. What are we going to go back and take a look at today?
Yeah, we did mention this briefly the other day, and that's the pre-point routine. So we've got a really good video on the pre-point routine. So what is a pre-point routine? So basically it's something that you develop that you do before every single point. So for me, I used to bounce the ball on the table. Then I used to put the ball in my hand, look at the ball, think about the tactic of where I'm going to serve, and then off you go. So before that, though, before the bouncing on the table, when you go and get the ball, you can also develop a routine of what you do. So while you're walking around, you can take some nice deep breaths. You might use that time to think about the tactic that you're going to use for the next point. But what that does is it gets you familiar or in a familiar situation for each point. So when you're in a stressful situation, you fall back to that pre-point routine that your body's going through something that it knows really well. And so it starts to feel a bit more comfortable. If you're doing something different, then that's when you start to get a little bit more stressed. So by going back to something familiar, something your body knows really well, it tends to calm down and tends to be a little bit more relaxed.
Interesting. So if this is to deal with those stressful situations, can we just, not worry about it most of the time and just kind of bring it out when we're getting a bit stressed?
You can, but I think ideally you want to be doing that all the time. So the more times you do it, the more times you're practicing it, the better you get at it. And as I said, it becomes a familiar situation. If you're only using it when you're stressed, then it's not a familiar situation. And you also need to be using it in your training time as well, because that's a great time to be practicing your pre-point routine.
Excellent. All right. So if this is all new to you and you haven't heard about a pre-point routine, try a simple one and start using it a lot and see if it helps you, especially when you get to tight situations in games. Now, obviously, Alois, table tennis is a fast game. This pre-point routine can't be too long, otherwise your opponent's going to get pretty annoyed if you're, standing there a minute before every point.
Absolutely. Like the rules say that play needs to be continuous. So you don't have a minute. You've probably got 10 or 15 seconds at most. But it's surprising the things that you can fit into your 10 or 15 seconds. You can definitely take a breath. You can definitely process some thoughts, and you can bounce the ball a couple of times on the table as well. So just have a go at it and see if you can develop something. Some players' pre-point routine is they go up and wipe their hand on the table near the net. Like it's a guys that they're wiping the sweat off their hand, but that is often part of a player's pre-point routine.
Yeah, certainly. And you do see that a lot. Now, Alois, a quick ad for the PingSkills Premium membership. We've got a whole series of masterclasses. This pre-point routine video is one of them. And it is all those masterclasses are associated with the 52-week training plan, which is 52 individual lessons designed to help you improve over the year. Each 4-week period covers a different topic. This is part of the tournament preparation bunch of videos. So go to pingskills.com, check out our premium membership. It can definitely help you improve your game. All right, on with the show now, Alois. Now, we missed the Chinese New Year a little bit here, Alois.
I know, we sort of kept thinking about it, and then yes, but happy Chinese New Year to everyone out there. It was on the 8th of February. So I should have researched this, but does Chinese New Year fall on a new moon, or is it because the moon looks pretty small at the moment?
That's a good question. Or is it a new moon because it's all over the year? You can't have a full moon in everywhere, can you?
No. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wherever the moon. Yeah. The moon's the same everywhere.
Okay.
I think.
There you go. So I don't know. What is the Chinese New Year? If anyone knows, let us give us.
Someone knows, like
Someone
someone
knows.
out there knows. Tell us.
Google will know as well. But
Yeah.
interesting. All right. Well, yeah. Happy Chinese New Year, everybody. All right. Let's get into the questions, Alois. And there's a number of ways you can get your question on the show. You can ask a great question on the PingSkills website using the Ask the Coach section. And also, you can jump on live on the show. You just need to go to our Google Plus page, which you can find at the bottom of the PingSkills website. Click on the latest show and click on the Q&A button. And Spam20 has done that. And he says, what should I do when the ball gets almost under the table? For example, if the ball goes really long and low and it has some backspin on it, it might get almost under the table. But when I try to hit it up, I end up hitting the table or nothing at all.
Yeah, it can be a really tricky shot, but it's one that you can practice a lot. So the ball, what you're talking about there is the ball that just drops off the end of the table. So you've got the table in the way, it's down low, and what you need to do from that situation is you need to brush the ball up almost vertically. So you're getting lots of topspin on the ball and you're getting the ball up and over the edge of the table. So so that's the critical part. You need that lifting contact. So brushing it up really vertically with lots of topspin, get it up past the edge of the table, over the net, and then it'll drop down quickly after it goes past the net. A really effective stroke, and you could almost start to utilize it more and more. It's basically a slow spinny topspin, but the positioning of the ball makes it a little bit awkward and tricky to get it up past the end of the table. We do have an answer to an Ask the Coach question, a video answer that we've filmed. So we'll put a link there for you to have a look at that. And I think that'll explain it really well for you and show you how to do that stroke.
Yes, absolutely. Great question, Spam20. Next up is one from Victory, also known as Brocky. He says, my smashes always give me points. Many players at school have a lot of problem blocking my smashes because I have big arms and strong and fast and hard strokes. I am the only one with this type of muscle mass in the room. So Brocky wants to know, does arm strength affect smash power?
Marginally, but more of your power comes from your legs and your core and your twisting and also from your timing. So I've seen, really skinny kids being able to generate a lot of power because their timing's good, their action's good, their technique's good, and they're also utilizing their legs well. So yeah, most of your power comes from your legs, not really from here.
Interesting. And I guess if you look at the top players, you see that they've all got really strong legs. But I mean, not in terms of they don't look like Arnold Schwarzenegger, but they do have really strong legs.
I don't know. Have you seen Ma Long's legs? I reckon Arnie would be happy with them.
You reckon?
Pretty good.
Maybe. They are impressive, that's for sure. But I don't think you want to go to that bodybuilding length for table tennis.
No, you don't need to. No, that's right. It's more about efficiency and power that you're able to generate. So you need a base of really good strength there to then be able to generate that power.
Excellent. Good question, Victor. All right. Next one is from Il. And Il asks, if I have, or he says, I have one child who plays left-handed, but Il is a right-hander. So he wants to know, how can he teach this child to play? Are there any method which makes it easier to teach a left-handed child because he wants the kid to be able to imitate him more easily?
Yeah, it can be a little bit tricky. Some players can translate that really easily and some players can't. So I find this a bit, because I'm left-handed and I teach a lot of right-handers, obviously, some right-handers, and in fact, most right-handers just are able to relate to what I'm doing. Sometimes you might need to stand them next to you or sometimes you stand them in front of you. So then that really acts as a mirror. So if I'm standing there playing with my left hand and they're playing with their right hand, it's basically a mirror image. The other thing that I think one of our PingSkillers came up with was watching our videos in a mirror. So I can't remember who it was now, Jeff, but one of our PingSkillers, when I was doing some demonstrations with my left hand, was able to relate much better when they watched the video in the mirror and basically saw me playing right-handed.
Very interesting. I guess, yeah, different brains process things different ways. Yeah, I like that idea of standing in front because that is a mirror. But I guess you could also, yeah, try different things. Great question. And as you said, Alice, you encounter this all the time.
Yeah, I do, and as I said, most of the time it isn't an issue, and so you'll just, see with the young player that you're working with. Firstly, just you demonstrate to them with your right hand, and just see if they translate that well. Often left-handers will, because they're used to the right-handers world, and they need to translate things often, like cutting scissors and all that sort of stuff.
There you go. It is a right-hander's world. All right, moving on. This again, Alois, is a very good question. I know so because Jeffrey asked it. Jeffrey says,
well. Oh, well.
Jeffrey says, my friend has a really nice and consistent serve and tends to get most winning points off me with his backhand flick or smash on the third or fifth ball. Is there any strategic or technical way I can prevent or counter this strong backhand?
Yeah, so the first thought is stay away from the backhand. So the first thought is to push that ball or put that ball more into the forehand side of your opponent if they've got that stronger backhand. But it's interesting. Often in that situation, there is a point or a speed or a different type of spin that you can also do to their backhand side that will throw them out. So I remember playing a player once that, had a really strong backhand, and I think it was a fairly important tournament, and I, had time to think about it. So the draw was out a week before, and I had a bit of time to think about it. And what I did was, instead of just pushing the ball long and slow to the backhand, I just really went in there and I pushed it a little bit faster and a little bit heavier into the backhand, and that came up with some good results. So it might seem like they've got a good backhand, but if you break it down in some way with extra speed, extra spin, or playing it shorter, then that could be really effective as well. So yeah, you need to explore some tactics against that player. What speed do they like or not like? What direction do they like or not like as well?
Yeah, it's an interesting topic, tactics, isn't it? And Jeffrey, make sure you use the PingSkills Vault to record your tactics. Then you can go back and read about it before you play the next time. But yeah, I think your first point, Alois, is an important one too. Maybe just stay away from the backhand. A lot of people are scared to go to people's forehands, but if their backhand's stronger, play more balls to the forehand. It makes sense, even though you might feel scared because you always think the forehand's better. So yeah, try the forehand a lot, and then, as Alois said, yeah, try different things, different speed, different spin, different placement. It doesn't take much to change the aspect of the game, and things might turn into your favor.
Yeah, I actually saw it yesterday in a schools match. There was a kid who had an incredible. Was using a hard bat and had an incredible smash off anything. Like the one of the kids was playing with some spin and and even just hitting to this kid. He was just there going crack, like must have been a really good tennis player, is my guess. But by just being able to change up a little bit, with adding a bit more spin, slowing the ball down, just changing up something, the whole game changed. So instead of being 11-2s, the game became really competitive after that.
Very good. There you go. So yeah, don't give up. Always think about your tactics, and the more you do that, the better you're going to get at working out what works for you and how to defeat an opponent. All right. Next up is a question from Hattem, who says, I like the backhand flick and I'm much more comfortable with it than the backhand loop, although he's still practicing the backhand loop, but especially against short and even medium or long serves. So Hattem's wondering, can I use the backhand flick for an all-offensive game instead of the loop?
Yeah, so if you think about the flick is basically just a shorter version of the top spin or the loop. So it's this compared to this. So it depends on how much time you have. But if the ball's longer, then you just need to extend your flick. So instead of this, it just becomes a bigger flick. So if you start to think of it that way, it might become a little bit easier for you. If you're only playing the ball with that sort of motion, you're not going to generate the amount of power and speed that you have the potential to generate. So, yeah, definitely had them just start to think about extending that stroke. That's all. Don't think about it as this is my flick and this is my top spin and this is my loop. They're just all extensions of each other. Just make the stroke bigger. Same stroke, make it bigger.
Yeah, absolutely. Makes a lot of sense. You just keep developing it. I've never seen any really good players just using a real small flick. They do kind of extend it out. So as Alois said, and we discussed this in a recent show, a lot of people seem to think the backhand loop's harder, but it may just be that they don't practice it as much as their forehand. So you're hitting a lot more balls with your forehand, so it seems easier. So, yeah, I mean, good to see you are still working on it, Hattem. So keep up with that, and I think it's important to develop it. Excellent. Now, just before we go, Alois, Victor has got a couple of more questions. He says that he heard I met Waldner years ago. I've been in some tournaments with him, the Australian Open and at the Olympics, but I never really met him personally, and I haven't actually played him. Did you ever play Waldner, Alois?
No, never had that opportunity. Yeah, would have loved to, but yes, only had the privilege of watching him a few times.
Indeed. There you go. And he's also asking about the Legend Tours. I don't know much about the Legend Tours. We might have to search that up for the next show, Alois.
Yeah,
do you know to play?
Yeah, they just had one of the Legends Tours recently, and Jorgen beat Waldy in the final. So there is some footage of that recent match. Entertaining. It was interesting. I was watching it and I'm thinking, I don't know. It didn't really do it for me. It was just like these two older guys who used to play really, really well. And I don't want to see Waldner doing what he's doing now. Like, I want to see Waldner at his peak, at his prime. So, and he's looking pretty tubby now, poor Waldy. He's been in a good pack.
I did see that, actually. Now you remind me, person taking out Waldner. So, yeah, if we can find a link, I'll put that in the show notes for you. I also saw I haven't checked it out, but something about Waldner retiring. I mean, I thought he retired a long time ago, but maybe he's stopping playing in the Swedish league or something.
Yeah, have to check that out.
Indeed. All right, well, that wraps up the show. Now, Alois, we're not going to be here tomorrow, which people are going to be devastated about because tomorrow's Friday, and that's normally Friday funnies, but you're just going to have to wait an extra week.
I reckon our next show's back on Tuesday. I reckon we can do Tuesday funnies.
Tuesday funnies, maybe. All right, we'll see. We'll have a think about that. So yeah, as Alois said, we're back on Tuesday. So have a great weekend. Lots of table tennis. Try out the pre-point routine, and you got to stick with it for a while because it takes a while for you to develop it, get it right, and then it'll help you in big points. So thanks everyone for watching. Check out PingSkills.com, and thank you, Alois.
Thank you, Jeffrey, and we will see you on Tuesday. Bye.